Chapter 1. Betrayal written in code. The world didn't end with fire or thunder. For Isabella, it ended with flashing red and blue lights. Federal agents stormed her lab in a coordinated rush, their boots pounding against the concrete as if they were trampling her very soul. The door splintered. Hard drives were ripped from their sockets. Wires hung like torn veins. Her sanctuary, the place where she had built her dream, was torn apart in minutes. She barely had time to breathe before hands forced her to the ground. Cold metal snapped around her wrists. A camera lens caught her wide eyes. Her shock. Within moments, her name was plastered across every news ticker. Cybersecurity prodigy caught in billion-dollar digital heist. She tried to speak, but her words were drowned beneath the roar of headlines and the flash of microphones. All she could do was watch as her reputation shattered in real time. And then she saw him. Ethan. The man she had once trusted more than anyone. The man she had loved. Stood calmly on a press stage just blocks away. Cameras swarmed him, reporters leaning forward to catch every word of his carefully rehearsed betrayal. "She betrayed me," he said smoothly, his voice breaking just enough to sound human. "She betrayed all of us. Isabella's crimes nearly crippled this company. I only wish I had seen it sooner." The crowd gasped. Investors shook their heads in pity. Every second, the narrative tightened around her neck like a noose. Ethan didn't just frame her, he was burying her alive. Her chest burned with fury. She wanted to scream his name, to expose him right there. But all that escaped her was a ragged whisper only she could hear. "You liar!" Hours later, she sat shackled in a sterile interrogation room. The walls pressed in like judgment itself. Across from her sat Adrian, the federal investigator assigned to her case. His stare was sharp, dissecting. The stare of a man trained to find guilt in every corner. "You designed the breach," he said flatly. "Every trace leads back to you. Thousands of stolen identities, millions in losses. Your code is everywhere." His words were knives, cutting into her already raw nerves. Isabella clenched her fists, forcing the tremor in her voice into steel. "You're wrong. It's my code, yes, but I didn't do this. Ethan did. He stole everything and made me the villain." Adrian leaned closer, folding his hands as if she were a puzzle he was eager to solve. "Do you expect me to believe your ex-partner, a man who built his entire empire on transparency and security, risked everything to frame you?" Her throat tightened. She had loved Ethan once, believed in him, trusted him with her life. That memory twisted like a blade in her chest. "You don't know him," she said bitterly. "I do. He wanted it all and he took it. He used me, he stole from me, and now he's selling my work to the world as if it's his." For the first time, Adrian hesitated. His gaze flicked down to his notes, then back at her. "Prove it," he said. "Because right now, all I see is you at the center of a billion-dollar crime." The words clawed at her. She should have stayed silent, but fury drove her past reason. She snapped, revealing the unthinkable she named vulnerabilities in Ethan's platform, details only the original architect would know. The silence that followed was suffocating. Adrian's eyes hardened. "You shouldn't know that." The realization hit her like ice water. She had exposed too much. She saw the shift in his expression, the first flicker of doubt. But doubt wasn't enough to set her free. "If you run," Adrian said coldly, "I'll be the one hunting you." That night, as agents moved her between rooms, Isabella seized her only chance. Timing every second, she triggered the outdated alarm system through a hidden exploit she had planted years ago. The lights went dead, chaos erupted, and by the time order returned, she was gone. She resurfaced in the shadows of an abandoned basement, with nothing but a battered laptop and her fury. Her hands moved like fire, keys clattering, code streaming across the screen. She sliced through digital firewalls, bypassed traps, dove headlong into the empire Ethan had stolen. What she found twisted her gut. Carefully planted logs, falsified trails, lines of evidence forged with surgical precision to frame her. Every byte screamed his betrayal. He hadn't just stolen her work. He had rewritten her story as that of a criminal mastermind. And then came the knife that cut deepest. A live broadcast flickered across her screen. Ethan, beaming beneath golden lights, the press eating from his hand. His voice, smooth and magnetic, filled the room. "This is only the beginning," he declared. Together, we will change the world. The world cheered him. Investors raised their glasses. And at the core of it all was the code she had written in the dead of night, believing in their shared dream. Her vision blurred with rage. Her breath trembled, but her resolve crystallized. "You won't see me coming," she whispered. It wasn't just a promise. It was a sentence. That night, Isabella became the ghost in his machine. She planted a phantom program, undetectable, spreading like smoke through the veins of his billion-dollar platform. It was only a whisper of what she planned to unleash, but it was enough. Enough to remind herself that she wasn't broken. Not yet. Across the city, Adrian studied the case files again. Something gnawed at him. Isabella's supposed sabotage was messy, full of errors. But her real work, the code he had glimpsed in interrogation, was elegant, flawless. Too flawless to match the crime she was accused of. He leaned back in his chair, the image of her defiant eyes lingering in his mind. His instincts told him she was guilty. But another voice whispered, what if she wasn't? He closed the file, but his gut was restless. Isabella stared at Ethan's frozen smile on her screen, her reflection faint in the glass. The man she had once loved had become the monster she now lived to destroy. The war had only just begun. Her laptop buzzed with an alert. Ethan's system had detected a shadow breach. He didn't know who yet, but she knew. He had felt her presence. Her lips curved into a dangerous smile. Let him search. Let him think he still held control. This time, the code was hers, and so was the endgame. Chapter 2: Hunter and Prey. Isabella didn't sleep. Her fingers flew through the night, ghosting her way into Ethan's empire with the same precision she once used to build it. Every click of the keyboard was war. Every keystroke, a step closer to reclaiming what was stolen. Her heart raced as the first lock opened. She was inside his billion-dollar platform. A system polished, fortified, wrapped in layers of digital armor, but she knew its weaknesses because she had built them. Ethan thought he had closed every door, sealed every flaw. He didn't realize she had left herself invisible pathways, the kind no ordinary hacker could ever find. Still, she moved like a shadow. One mistake and the alarms would flare, drawing Ethan's eyes straight to her. Across the city, Adrian studied his monitors, tracing the irregular patterns of data pulsing through Ethan's servers. A phantom user was moving through the system, and it was her, Isabella. He leaned forward, heart pounding. She was bold, too bold. It was as if she wanted him to follow. He pursued her through cyberspace like a predator in a labyrinth, tracing her ghost steps until the chase spilled into the physical world. By midnight, their paths collided. Inside a hidden data hub, Isabella was patching a back door when the air shifted behind her. A presence. A sound of slow, certain footsteps. She turned, and there he was, Adrian. His gaze was sharp, the hunter who had finally cornered his prey. "You're good," he said, voice low, steady, but not good enough. Her pulse thundered. For a moment she froze, but survival instinct cut through fear. She hit a hidden key sequence. The server around them hummed, locks clicking into place. Adrian's eyes widened as the heavy doors sealed, trapping him inside the steel vault. He lunged for her, but she slipped past, escaping into the night while alarms screamed behind her. For the first time, Isabella allowed herself a grim smile. He had promised to hunt her. Tonight, she had turned the tables, but even in victory, her heart wavered. Adrian wasn't like Ethan. He was relentless, yes, but there was no arrogance in his pursuit, only conviction. And that conviction unnerved her more than Ethan's lies ever had. Back at the top floors of his empire, Ethan poured himself a drink, the glow of monitors reflecting his cold grin. He wasn't fooled by silence. He knew Isabella was alive, and she would come for him. "She won't stop," Lily warned, her tone sharp. "You should finish her before she gets close enough to expose you." Ethan smirked, savoring the thought. "That's exactly what I want. Let her come. Every path she takes, every door she opens, I'm the one guiding her there, and when the time is right, I'll close the trap." Lily's expression hardened. "You're playing with fire." He laughed softly. "No, I'm building an inferno." But Ethan underestimated her resolve. Isabella wasn't simply searching for evidence. She was weaving herself into his empire, string by string, until the whole thing would unravel from within. Adrian, meanwhile, couldn't shake the doubts gnawing at him. He replayed her words in the interrogation room, the fire in her eyes, the conviction in her voice. He had seen criminals lie before. He had seen tears, manipulations, confessions wrapped in deception. But Isabella's rage had felt different. And then came the evidence. Logs he traced didn't align with her usual coding style. The sabotage attributed to her was crude, sloppy, chaotic. But her real work, her genius, was elegant, clean, untouchable. Something didn't fit. Late one night, he made his choice. Instead of dragging her in, he confronted her in the shadows. She met him in an abandoned subway tunnel, the air heavy with mistrust. Her laptop glowed between them, casting pale light across her face. "You shouldn't be here," she hissed. "Neither should you," he replied. "But here we are." He showed her the files he had pulled, logs that contradicted the narrative. For the first time, her fury softened into something sharper, more vulnerable. She opened her own encrypted folder, revealing proof Ethan had forged the trail, proof she hadn't been lying. Their eyes locked. The air between them vibrated with something dangerous, not just suspicion but a tension neither could ignore. "You see it now," Isabella whispered. "He framed me. He stole everything. And if you keep chasing me, you're just doing his work for him." Adrian's jaw clenched. His whole career was built on drawing clear lines, law and crime, guilty and innocent. But nothing about her felt simple. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, in a voice rough with conflict, he muttered, "I'll buy you time, but don't make me regret this." The words stunned her more than any accusation had. For the first time, someone wasn't dismissing her as a criminal or a traitor. For the first time, she wasn't alone. And in that dangerous sliver of trust, something unspoken sparked an ember of connection neither could admit. But before it could burn, the screens around them flickered. A voice, smooth and venomous, filled the air. "Nice try, Isabella," Ethan drawled through the hacked feed. "I always knew you'd come back." Her blood ran cold. Her location had been traced. Alarms screamed. Red lights ignited the tunnel. Adrian swore under his breath, grabbing her arm. Isabella's pulse hammered. The hunter and the hunted were now trapped together, and Ethan was closing in. On her laptop screen, a live map bloomed, dozens of security teams converging on their exact location. Ethan's voice echoed, amused, merciless. "You thought you were the predator, but you're still mine, Isabella." She slammed the laptop shut, heart racing, knowing the real war was about to explode. Chapter 3. Love in the Crossfire. The tunnel was alive with chaos. Sirens wailed, boots pounded above, and the pulse of the city echoed Isabella's own racing heartbeat. Ethan had found them, and his reach was closer than ever. Adrian's grip on her arm was firm, steady. "We need to move. Now." She jerked free, eyes blazing. "You think you can control me?" "Control you? I'm trying to keep you alive." Her fury roared, but there was no time to argue. Steel doors at both ends of the tunnel groaned and locked. Ethan's men were closing in, moving with precision, trained to corner, suffocate, eliminate. And Ethan's voice, smooth, cruel, unrelenting, filled the tunnel. "Did you really think," he drawled over the hidden speakers, "that I wouldn't know where my creation was crawling?" Her chest tightened. Creation. The word burned. That was how he saw her now. Not as a partner, not as the woman who had once trusted him, but as a tool to exploit, discard, and destroy. The echo of his laughter made the walls vibrate. "Run if you want. It changes nothing. You'll never outrun me." Isabella's pulse thundered. She glanced at Adrian, whose eyes scanned the tunnel like a predator calculating angles. He wasn't panicked. He was thinking, planning, and that was exactly what she needed. "There's another way out," she whispered, tracing her fingers along her laptop's hidden sequences. "I built it into the system when I designed this hub." Adrian's lips pressed into a thin line. "Of course you did." Seconds later, the hidden door creaked open, a maintenance shaft narrow enough to force them to move single file. They slipped inside just as Ethan's guards surged into the tunnel, guns raised, shouting orders. The shaft was suffocating, metal biting their shoulders as they pushed forward. Isabella's chest heaved. Every nerve screamed danger. But the path carried them into the belly of the city. They emerged in a neon-lit alley, sirens still shrieking behind them, but alive just barely. Isabella leaned against the wall, trying to steady her shaking hands. Adrian followed, his own breath heavy, eyes dark with a mix of concern and something she couldn't name. For a fleeting moment, the world narrowed to the two of them. Her anger, his intensity, their shared survival. It was a spark she didn't expect, and it made her pulse shiver. "This is what he does," she spat, voice raw. "He hunts me, corners me, twists the truth until I'm the criminal. I can't let him win." Adrian's gaze softened slightly, but his jaw remained tight. "You want revenge." "I want the truth," she snapped. "And if that destroys him, so be it." Her defiance sent a shiver down his spine. He had always believed in clear lines, right and wrong, hunter and hunted. But Isabella's fire wasn't guilt. It wasn't fear. It was justice, pure and unyielding. Ethan, of course, had anticipated this. From his fortress of glass and steel, he watched every movement on glowing monitors. Lily, standing beside him, frowned. "You could have ended this tonight," she said sharply. "And ruined the game?" Ethan's smirk was cruel. "No, let her feel like she's winning. Every step she takes, every secret she touches, I'm guiding her closer to the trap I've set." "You're obsessed," Lily warned. "She isn't a threat anymore, she's a distraction." Ethan laughed softly. "She's both. Always both." But he underestimated Isabella's resolve. She wasn't merely retrieving evidence, she was weaving herself into the very core of his empire. Every line of code, every hidden pathway she uncovered, brought her closer to dismantling everything he had built on her genius. Adrian, in contrast, struggled to reconcile what he was witnessing. Her anger, her defiance, her brilliance, it wasn't like anything he'd encountered. He wanted to stop her, to warn her, to protect her, but he also wanted to believe her. Later, in the quiet of an abandoned loft they had claimed as a temporary refuge, Isabella spread blueprints across the floor, her fingers trembling as she traced the system she had once built. "If I can get inside the central vault," she murmured, "I can expose everything's stolen patents, shell companies, the forged trails he left behind. The world will finally see what he truly islanded." Adrian leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching her with a tension he couldn't hide. "And if you fail?" She met his gaze, voice sharp, unwavering. "Then Ethan wins, and I disappear forever." Their shared silence was thick with unspoken truths. It wasn't just about survival or revenge anymore. It was about trust, suspicion, and the pull neither of them wanted to admit. For Adrian, Isabella was no longer a criminal suspect. She was a force of nature, a spark he couldn't ignore, and one he might never be able to control. Then, Isabella's phone buzzed. A single cryptic message appeared. "He's not the only one you should fear." Her blood ran cold. She showed Adrian. "Who?" he began. "I don't know," she interrupted, voice trembling. "But someone else is inside his empire. Someone who knows me." Before they could process it, the loft windows shattered. Smoke canisters hissed across the floor, thick and choking. Armed men poured in, moving with lethal precision. Adrian pulled her behind a steel beam, firing at the intruders. Isabella ducked, heart hammering, as chaos erupted. The men were efficient, almost surgical, but they weren't Ethan's typical guards. They moved to kill, not capture. One lunged for Isabella, his knife flashing. She twisted, swinging her laptop with desperate strength. Sparks flew as metal met metal. Adrian ripped the attacker off her, shielding her with his body, the scent of gunpowder and smoke filling the air. By the time the smoke cleared, the intruders had vanished, leaving the loft in ruins. Isabella's arm was bleeding from a shallow cut, her pulse erratic. Adrian standing beside her, eyes dark with worry. "You need a hospital," he urged. "No," she said firmly. "They'll track me there. I'll patch it myself." His jaw clenched, frustration and fear mingling. "If you keep thinking you're untouchable, you'll get killed." She pressed her sleeve against the wound. "If I fall, Ethan wins. I can't let that happen." Their eyes met intense, electric, a storm of trust, desire, and mutual desperation. The city outside roared, but in that moment, the world contracted to just the two of them. For a heartbeat, the hunt stopped. For a heartbeat, Nothing existed except them. Their shared survival, the danger, and a spark that neither dared name aloud. Then, her laptop chimed. Lines of code scrolled across the cracked screen, forming a single chilling message. One of you is already working for Ethan. Her breath caught. She turned to Adrian, suspicion burning in her eyes. He froze, reading the same words. For the first time, trust fractured. The crossfire wasn't just Ethan's pursuit, it was betrayal lurking within reach. The screen glowed ominously in the dim loft. Isabella's pulse thundered. Love and danger were intertwined, and the war she had thought she understood had only grown more complicated. Ethan wasn't just outside, he was inside, and one of them someone she depended on might already be his pawn. Chapter 4. The Firewall Falls. The city slept, but Isabella didn't. Her fingers flew across the laptop, coding, hacking, breaching. Every pulse of the system beneath her fingertips was a heartbeat of war. She had spent months infiltrating Ethan's empire, planting backdoors, exposing falsified files, and now the final vault lay before her, the core of his billion-dollar network. Adrian stood behind her, tense, alert. He had risked everything to protect her, defying orders, ignoring protocol. His eyes flicked constantly between the screens and her, silently warning her of every danger she didn't yet see. "This is it," she whispered. "Once I upload this, everything he's built, it's over. Every lie, every stolen patent, every piece of evidence framing me gone." Adrian's jaw tightened. "And if he catches us here?" Isabella didn't look away from the screen. "Then I die trying." The alarms didn't take long. Ethan's voice, dripping with arrogance and rage, echoed through the encrypted network. "You think you can destroy me?" Isabella's pulse accelerated. His voice was everywhere, omnipresent, as though he were inside her mind. "You never understood what I built," he spat. "And you never will. I control everything." Adrian stepped closer. His hand is touching hers. A fleeting moment, but it carried the weight of every danger, every secret, every night spent running, fighting, hiding. He leaned in, voice low, almost intimate. "You don't have to do this alone." She met his eyes for a fraction of a second, the fire in hers softening. "I know." Then, Ethan appeared. Not in the system, but in the room. Cold, imposing, impossibly close. He moved with the confidence of a man who believes nothing can touch him. "Did you really think you could outsmart me?" Isabella froze for a heartbeat. Then rage took over. Her fingers flew over the keys, bypassing his traps, igniting her final line of attack. Adrian stepped to her side, shielding her as Ethan lunged forward. The room erupted into a storm, digital warfare mirrored by physical confrontation. Wires sparked, screens flickered, alarms blared. Ethan's fury clashed with Isabella's focus, each move calculated, precise, desperate. But he underestimated Adrian. The investigator, who had watched her, doubted her, and finally trusted her, shoved Ethan back, breaking the rhythm of his attack. For the first time, Ethan faltered. Lily's betrayal came suddenly, silently, like a blade in the dark. She had her own motives, her own survival instinct. Ethan's empire had always been as dangerous to her as it was to Isabella. She revealed a hidden back door, exposing the surveillance weapon Ethan had been preparing to launch globally. Security teams across the network received instant access, digital chaos flooding his control. Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief. "Lily!" But there was no time for mercy. In the confusion, Ethan lunged for Isabella, reckless, desperate. Adrian moved faster, intercepting him, and in the struggle, Ethan fell against the consoles. Sparks flew, metal twisted, and the man who had haunted Isabella's life finally hit the floor, defeated, stripped of his empire, his lies, his control. Isabella exhaled, hands shaking, heart hammering. She slumped to the floor, staring at the screens. The upload was complete. Every falsified document, every trace of Ethan's theft and deception was laid bare. Her name cleared, her work restored, her legacy untouchable. Adrian knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did it." She shook her head, disbelief and relief mingling. "We did it." For a long moment they sat together amid the wreckage, physical, digital, emotional. The hunt was over, but the cost, the intensity, the adrenaline they had, survived it together. And then the unspoken tension between them broke. Adrian's gaze softened, the walls around him falling away. Isabella, I've been trying to protect you, to do my job, to follow the rules. But I can't deny what I feel anymore. She turned to him, her chest rising and falling, eyes wet with the weight of everything they had endured. I didn't think I could. He placed a finger gently under her chin. You don't have to think. Just trust me. Trust us. Their lips met in a collision of relief, tension, and something they had both denied for too long. It wasn't just desire, it was trust, survival, and the bond forged in fire and betrayal. Outside, the world had changed. News networks flashed the headlines. Cyber heist exposed, billion-dollar empire built on lies. Ethan's name was synonymous with deceit, Isabella's with brilliance and vindication. Lily, quietly slipping away from the chaos, had taken her cut and disappeared, leaving only shadows behind. But Adrian and Isabella were no longer hiding. They were free. Weeks later, Isabella stood in her rebuilt startup, the hum of servers and the glow of screens filling the room. Adrian leaned against the doorway, watching her with that same intensity, but now tempered with relief and tenderness. "You're sure you're done hunting ghosts?" he asked. She smiled, a quiet, victorious curve of her lips. "I'm done with him, but I think we have a few ghosts of our own to figure out." He stepped forward, taking her hand. "Then let's do it together." The war was over. The firewalls had fallen. But in the aftermath, they discovered something stronger than revenge, something enduring, trust, love, and the knowledge that, together, they could survive anything. For Isabella, it wasn't just about reclaiming her legacy. It was about finally finding someone who saw her truth, believed it, and chose her anyway. And for Adrian, it was about letting go of the black and white lines of law and guilt, embracing a world where shades of gray could hold something pure, something worth protecting. As the sun rose over the city skyline, the hum of their shared empire filled the room. The danger had passed, but the bond forged in fire, betrayal, and survival would remain. The final line of code had been executed. The firewall had fallen, and the love that had grown in the crossfire stood stronger than any empire Ethan had ever built. To summarize this story, Isabella, a gifted cybersecurity prodigy, was betrayed and framed by the man she trusted most. Her fight for revenge pulled her into a dangerous game of secrets, power, and betrayal. With Ethan determined to destroy her, she found an unlikely protector in Adrian, the investigator once chasing her. Together they uncovered the truth, turned the trap back on her betrayer, and proved that love can survive even in the darkest crossfire. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe my channel for more dramatic, intense romances. Your support means the world to me. Thank you for watching. I can't wait to share the next story with you.